This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Stephen Simcox alongside our wacky Wednesday wild man. If we were doing the FM radio
went back
version.
to FM radio there for a second.
FM radio, yeah. I never was a host on an FM radio show, like other than like a repeater.
I guess technically you were simulcast on FM radio,
Yeah,
but
yeah. And I was the program director for a Jack format station, which is no DJs. So like occasionally I'd have to go to remotes and be like, I'm out here at the Grossbeck goat auction, and coming out and see us. We've got keychains and koozies for you. And meet the Georgettes from 104.9 George FM. Take a picture. Send it to our website, 104georgefm.com.
Here's Don't Stop Believing.
No, and just like I have no idea. Like it was a country station. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. And I had to sit through. That was the most, like one of the most painful things I ever had to do in radio. Was the company at the time was owned by a parent company in Utah. And people in Texas know this. Mm-hmm. People outside of Texas may not know unless they've spent time here, is that Texas has its own like brand of country music. Mm-hmm. And we also have country music that on the radio is more acceptable, will do better than it will in Salt Lake City. And we had a guy, his name was Alan, and he came in and Alan talked like this. His son played for BYU. He's very... I'd say a very boring gentleman. Like, he was, like, the definition of just like, okay, well, we're going to put this song in. You're going to put F1, and then it'll save to the database, and that's how it's going to go. And so I had to sit through, and then, like, you put it in meetings, like, you have consultants and all this, and, like, you call up a disc jockey from Austin. He's like, hey, how's it going? I think we should be playing some good old Ronnie Millsap here. And then it's like, well, our numbers showed that Ronnie Millsap on the classic format is down in gold 3, which is the lower category. And you're like, should we just play George Strait and call it a day? Like, like this doesn't seem as hard as we're making it here, And of course, we were going up against a radio station in town whose call letters were WACO. So we had no chance. I mean, no chance. That station could very well just like between songs just go. And
people were tuning in though.
And then like, here's Jelly Roll. And you're like, all right, well, there you go.
Guess this is what I listen to now.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it worked. And it was such a bizarre thing. And he has a little OCD. So, like, there were ways that you could put in a song and just hit next to the next song. But every time, and when I say this, let me preface this, we're putting songs in for this new station in a database, in a program that spits them out to the scheduler. And so you would have to enter the song title and all these little things to it, date, the year, and, the length and all that stuff. It was months of work, months of data entry, and it was miserable. But he made me do it like he did, where he would start at the menu, put in a song, and then exit all the way back out to the menu. And that was 3 full days of my life. Before, like, when he went back to Utah, and I was just like, next, 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 putting him in this database. And it was something else. And I remember Tom, who's our PD at the time, Tom. You guys know Tom.
We know Tom.
And look, Tom knows a great deal about country music. So he was a country DJ for a very long time. And so it was such a weird thing. He sat down and goes, hey, what we could do differently than what Waco 100 does is that we could do from like 7 to midnight, we could kind of play honky-tonk songs, like going out songs, like the songs that you're going to hear in the dance halls. And Alan from Utah had no idea what that was. Like, we might as well have been like, listen, I don't know if you're familiar with Einstein's theory of relativity, but if you applied when talking about force times mass plus acceleration, all this, like, he was just like, I don't understand. We're like, well, we can just turn the songs towards, songs that people two-step with. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm not I'm not reading you here. And they're like, like belt buckle. So, shine the belt buckle. The good old, like, songs like that. We have Texas country. We have all these guys that are dance hall music. And he was just like,
That's not what the numbers say.
yeah. It would have been like, he would go to Japan, like, no, you got to take your shoes off. Wow. What's going on here? And so eventually, that was just one of the things we just did. But he was like, I didn't listen to in Salt Lake City. You don't have to. No. Well, that's not how it works. I'm like, well, yeah, there's not
dance. Yeah, there's not a lot of two-step places there.
Not a lot of two-step honky-tonks there. Like when you hear the song, Alan, I know you've heard it because it just played. When you hear I'm a honky-tonk man, that's not a, like, that's just not a moniker.
Right.
Like, he didn't just make that up. I mean, like
that was a fun catchphrase I came up with.
Yeah. So, anyway, from Paul's Tales of Radio, brought to you by...
Well, I'm glad that, I think you're one of the most versatile broadcasters I know, but I'm glad you never had to do, like, FM morning show duty.
Oh, gosh, it would kill me.
Because you would have done it, but I feel like it would have killed you to be like, hey, Miranda Lambert lost her bags at the airport. Yeah. You guys ever lose your bags at the airport?
Yeah.
That's kind of inconvenient, huh?
Yeah. No, it was, It was like you read those things like, oh, looks like Prince Charles. You're like, oh, God.
You guys ever think about, can guys and girls really be friends?
Yeah.
Call in. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Part of the reason my disdain for that happened is I'm just friends with a bunch of comedians. And they have to, it's the weirdest thing. A comedian is on late at night, and then they have to get up, like, if they're marketed, like, they're contractually obligated to go into, like, morning radio shows. Mm-hmm. Now it's usually morning news shows. I would tell you to go look up Sam Morrell, who's a comedian from New York, who... Honestly, every time he goes on a morning show, his goal is to make it as uncomfortable as possible, and it's hilarious. Like he has Gary Viter, who's his normal opener, like run around the back in costume, which like a gimp suit, like all these things. Or he'll be like in there, and then like they'll ask him a question about his material, and he's like, "Do you want me to talk about my material?" I mean, he's not Jim Gaffigan. Like he's not Nate Bargatze. Yeah, he's not going up there to doing clean stuff. So, but yeah, they just hate it because they're like, all right, what do you think about this? And unless it's like another comedian doing the radio show, like they're all like, oh well, no, I love Denver. I was up real late at night, so I'm very happy I didn't have to do it. I would go do bits with our friend Dustin occasionally, where I would go over and do a character, and that was fun to us. But it never really took off and translated here very well. I don't think
Right.
But sometimes you're just like, well, I have a morning show. It's over at especially when I was doing the morning show. It's over at 9:00. I have nothing to do for another hour and a half.
I'll come hang out in the studio.
Yeah, especially there's certain days of the week I had to wait for, when I was scheduling that music, I had to wait for like the new music to come in. Like it would come in from the West Coast. Like LA would like email it at 9:00 their time. So it was like 11:00 my time, where I'm like, oh, okay, well I have to change these categories out, and here's what it is. Here's the new hit from Miranda Lambert, that I have to move up to one. And so, like, during that time, I would just go in there and, do characters, celebrity impersonations, whatever we came up with.
Right.
He did like a Tuesday Gourmet segment where quite often I would just review it as just a character.
Like a chef or just a random person?
Just a random person,
Okay.
like they're in the studio, like, our good friend, I had one called Hank Terwilliger, because Dustin and I were at a bar one time, and it was just like, it was after a really rough day of work. Like we were at a bar, and it was like a really rough day, and like one of those days where like nothing worked right, and then like everybody was yelling at each other, and we just went out to have a beer afterwards. And this guy goes, listen, man, you got to get a job that makes you happy. Like me, I shampoo carpets. Every day is a new adventure. And so,
hell yeah, brother.
So then I invented the character of Bob Terwilliger, Terwilliger's carpet cleaning. And then the catchphrase was, we lick your carpet, but good. So that was my favorite FM radio character I did. But it didn't really,
Didn't take off.
I really wanted to get somebody to do like a jingle, like twirl your carpet cleaning. We lick your carpet, but good.
There's still time.
Yeah.
Somebody send it into us.
Yeah. Just a really peppy thing. I can bring it back. Like I'll get Dustin in here tomorrow. We'll
bring back the morning zoo segment.
Yeah, Bob Terwilliger in a second. But yeah, it was always like, hey, Bob Terwilliger here. Man, this is a really lovely quiche you made here, Dustin. I really like this. That pancetta you got in there. One time I was cleaning carpets for my company. Terwilliger Carpet Cleaning. We lick a carpet, but good. It was pancetta all in it. And it was turned out it was an Italian chef who had drunkenly spilled it all over the place and couldn't get it out. Something like that.
Right.
So
I mean, contentment's hard to find. I'm glad that guy figured it out with shampoo and carpet.
Yeah, I know. It was like all right, I had to do that. Like I've had to do it like a few times in my life where you have to like rent a machine and go do it. And I haven't like every time it's been like, I don't know why this guy thought this was so fun.
I mean, it does seem like a job that you'd look back and be like, okay, that's nice. I mean, we did it, but all right, brother.
I mean, I don't like, look, it's, like I had some guys steam clean a couch I bought off Craigslist when I was in my 20s. Cost of the steam cleaning cost almost as much as the couch. But look, man, I need a couch.
Got to get all those demons out of there,
I'm not going to Haverty's. 25 years old. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
Yeah. So, anyway, Stephen, yesterday we had G.J. Kenny on the show, and we also had John Bryce from Football Scoop, and John Bryce wrote a column about the G5 and their new ranking system where they will have their separate ranking. And is this not, they're going to. They've already got a sponsor. They're going to roll this out. Now, how it works with the G5 and all those other things. But it's going to happen the rankings wise. G.J. Kenny said he was not really in favor of the rankings, but he was in favor of maybe a separate playoff for them down the line. Now, if his career arc continues, he probably won't have to worry about it. But, look, he could be, it could be another year he's a G5 coach. It could be another 5 years. Who knows?
Sure.
The coaching carousel is a mysterious thing. But how do you feel about the G5 using their own ranking system and then maybe just, heading off the inevitable at the pass and going, we're just going to have our own playoff and you guys can have one of our teams every year. And I don't know, if that happens, does the number one team go and then the number two team becomes the number one team and ever moves up? I don't know. But if you're only going to take one of our teams for the playoffs, we're going to do a playoff with the rest of them.
I think it makes sense from the aspect of, especially the separate playoff, okay, what's the big end goal for a G5 team aside from winning a conference title? Right now, I guess it's making it to a New Year's Six bowl game or making it to a big-time bowl game, playing a Power 5 team. I understand why some G5 coaches, and G.J. Kenny's a great example, would be like, well, we feel like we can beat some of these teams in the Power 5, but at the same time, it's pretty obvious the amount of respect you're getting from the committee is not much. And even in the 12-team playoff format, you're probably talking about more at-large teams from the larger conferences. So this gives you an attainable goal to kind of sell to your team, like, hey, we're the number 2 G5 team in the country playing the number 7 team this week. I think that should also hopefully help kind of drum up ratings, and maybe that's something that they can use on College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff. Like, hey, check out this game in the Sun Belt that's between two of the better teams at this level of football, because we don't always know who the best teams are. At least the casual football fans don't know. So I feel like it's a good experiment overall. It could be a good marketing tool. I guess it is sort of a resigning yourself to the obvious or to what's been coming for a long time, and that's always disappointing. But I think it's probably better for that level of football to kind of know, okay, here's where we stand, and these are the teams that we're really competing against on a year in and year out basis.
What I would say, and I used this yesterday, is they've got to have a storm shelter and stock it, because the storm's building, and the storm is building on a lot of fronts around them. If any one of there's 2 tiers or a super league, if any of those plans take shape, you got to get in the cellar, don't you? You have to, you got to have your canned goods and batteries and all those things. Yeah. And so this, to me, is the first step in that, is to try to market yourself outside of it, because this is the first year of mega leagues. You know, I'm not going to call like super leagues would be the thing, but like the mega leagues there's 2 in the Power 4, there's 2 with 18, and there's 2 with 16. You know, and very soon the 2 with 18, like one of the ones with 18 could have 20, one of the ones with 16 could have 20, and one of the ones with 18 could have 9. You know, like just how it could happen. Right. You know, we don't know. I mean, the way that, you know, the ACC is in flux as well, you know, this could be very tumultuous. So especially if you're a top tier FCS team, you know, that's been considered for realignment, like Boise State or Memphis or USF or one of those schools, you know, and I know that they weren't, you know, getting close to the finish line. You know, they got Usain bolted by UCF and Utah and those other ones, but Utah was a Pac-12, but Utah was well before everybody else. You know, like any of those schools that have moved up, TCU, when they moved up, that was years ago. But now that that's probably unlikely to happen, I would say ever again. Like, I really do think, because I don't think the relegation thing is going to I mean, I would like to see maybe that, but, like, I don't think the relegation thing is going to happen. So it may never happen again. So you have to guard against the fact that, like, if you're Boise State or Memphis or, you know, San Diego State, like, again, San Diego State's one that thought, like, hey, we might get in the Pac-12. Like, oh, it doesn't exist. So
one big problem with that play.
Yeah. Just
the fact that it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. Just waiting outside and the circus left town.
I do think so. I agree. I don't think relegation will ever really happen, because I don't feel like the Power 5 conferences would agree to it. But I guess if there is an off chance, and I agree with you for the most part, the days of maybe Boise State making the leap are probably gone. But with the G5 ranking, it does give the power conferences like a tangible thing to see of like, okay, these are the teams that are consistently at the top in the group of 5, at least from a playing standpoint. And then they can evaluate like what the market looks like, what their fan base looks like. And it gives you at least the opening to say, hey, if there's ever a chance that one of us could get in here, we're one of the best at this level. Like, we feel like we can make this transition. But, yeah, ultimately, I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
No, I mean, like, so, again, you've got to do something. And a separate G5 playoff, honestly, I'd like to see that within 2 years. Like,
I think it should happen.
By the time they do the look-in, which is, 2028?
Is it 2028 or 2026?
It's either 2026 or 2028, especially if the ACC opts out of their deal with the ACC in 2027. Which, here's the thing, they might just do anyway. Like, if they could wind up saving money on this thing, why would you not? I don't know. Like, maybe you want it because it locks them in at a rate where you don't have to renegotiate. But, like, if you could opt out and then just solve all your problems, let the teams go where they may and then figure it out later, turn the ACC network into something else, you know, or, you know, sunset it like you did with the Longhorn Network.
Right.
Then maybe that's something that happens, you know, maybe look, especially with their commitment to that's a tangent, but like, you know, if I would do it, I would have it ready to go by the time the look-in happens. Because by the time the look-in on the contract happens, that's going to be the time where the Big 12 and whatever the ACC is are like, okay, well, this is how we re-solidify our spot. And neither of those conferences are going to be like, oh, but the Sun Belt. They're just not going to do it. So I would have it ready to go and be like, all right, well, if you're telling us that we can't play for it, then that's fine. We'll move on. We'll still schedule you. We'll do all those things. But bottom line is, like, you know, it's postseason. Like, you guys work your thing out. We'll work our thing out. And then you leave the bowls to fight out over what's what.
One question I have with this, and I've never understood the notion that's been floated out there about Washington State and Oregon State trying to revamp a new look Pac-12 and make that a Power 5 conference. I don't ever see that happening. Just for the simple fact that you would have to take teams from the Mountain West. Obviously, they're already – nobody wanted them, right? Like, they would be here if they were wanted. So if you go ahead and you implement this top 25, say, next year, does that put the nail in the coffin for those schools and – Oregon State and Washington State for the hope of them actually resuming and gaining G5 status?
Yeah, I think it might, but and again, look, the only thing, and this is true for every conference that's not the SEC or Big Ten, that's not locked in by a contract they apparently wrote in blood in the 30s and 40s. So because I do think, like, again, some of these, I don't think that, like, the Vanderbilts and the Purdues and all that are in trouble in the imminent future, but there is a future I do see where they're like, look, here's where we're going to reshuffle the deck here, because if we're going to go down the TV ratings list, there's like 50 schools that come before you all the time, Northwestern. We're sorry. Like,
either invest or get out.
Yeah, like you have to do that. And I think that's the tier that Charlie Baker was talking about. So, you know, the only thing you can do is win. So Boise State, by the way, Jeremiah Dickey will be on the show
Friday, I believe.
On Friday. So we'll have him, we'll ask him about all this stuff. But the only thing they can do is win. And then, like, win and then go 500 against your P4 opponents. You know, you can't just, roll in. And look, Boise State's a great example of this, because most of the time throughout their history, no matter who their coach has been, like when they roll into a big game in, Oregon or, Tallahassee or wherever, that was my last straw on Willie Taggart, I'll just tell you. True freshman Hank Bachmeier, who I believe is still playing. But Hank Bachmeier rolls in. And in the first quarter, they showed that, like, Boise State's been spending the whole month of practice having, like, sessions during the day in their indoor where they shut all the doors, they put humidifiers in there, and they turned up the temperature to, like, 100 degrees so that they would get used to, because apparently it's lovely in Boise in the summer. They would get used to it. And then, like, Willie Taggart, like, instead of getting his players used to it, had the team custom build some sort of refrigerator ice box that they could all sit in and relax. Great. So the team that, like, came down and immediately was like, oh, God, it's sticky down here, was like, we're going to win the game. And the team that lives in it was like, Jesus Christ, we're tired. Oh, my God, it's so humid out here. Can we get in the ice box right now?
Was that when they were bringing those trucks in, those freezer trucks?
Yes.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yes. And I was just like, well,
Well, he just wanted his guys to be comfortable, Paul. Players coach.
Yeah. I'm surprised, like, in the third quarter, he's like, hi, hot dogs all around for everybody. Get your strength up. Linemen, you can have 2 or 3.
If we take the lead here, juice boxes after the game.
Yeah. Listen, you guys also know juice boxes. Hey, if we win by 10, ice cream. I'll take you all the Baskin Robbins.
Even if we lose, you can probably still talk me into it. I love you guys.
Yeah. But, yeah, they just got to win. And so, like, Boise State's a great example of that. Appalachian State's a great example of that. They have the world-famous win against Michigan, but also they kicked A&M's ass a couple years ago, they went in and did those things. So I think that's the only thing you can do. That's the only currency you have to show your work to the outside. And even then, like, sometimes it just works against you because you're like, well, we'd like to play you. Like, no, we're not going to pull that on us. We saw what you did in College Station.
We're good.
No, we're good. We're good. You are not welcome here.
Will they call it the G5 National Championship, or, like, what will they? I mean, small school sounds weird.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you would call that. Like, maybe, I guess, G5. Just leave it as is.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Sometimes, even though you don't like a name, you should just lean into it. Because, and I'll use the bully nickname thing. Like, if Steven and Garrett were, like, pushing me around and calling me Chunko, I would just, the best way, and I've told a lot of people this, like, the best way is like, yep, I'm Chunko. And they're like, oh, he likes it.
Yeah, it's no longer a joke.
It's no longer a joke. And like, what's up, Chunko. Chunko's coming. Then all of a sudden I've hijacked your narrative.
Well, one way they could lean into it, which they would never do this for a number of reasons, but if they called it the futures game, because it's basically like, hey, here's a look at who the QB is going to be for Oregon next year, or whatever it is. Yeah. Hey, this is a wide receiver that's going to go to Alabama next season.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Yeah. I mean, again, you got to lean into, like, sometimes you got to lean into the reality of things. Yeah. And the problem with college sports is you'll have to get all 64 of these schools together. You got 64 schools that all have different presidents. Mm-hmm. And of those presidents, I would say less than half of them will really feel expertise on this. And the other ones will have like a guy and they'll be like, okay, all right, okay. Yes, no. We feel this way because of the 60s. That's just kind of how it goes. And it is funny that universities and Congress are so interlocked right now because neither of them are very good at getting things done. And, but that's how it's going to be. But they're just they need leaders that are going to say, look, we'll take whatever money they give us. We'll do that. But we need to set up something that's going to really be intriguing, interesting, and help us grow. And we might as well just do this. To me, I don't think it's a bad idea. Even if you're taking off the number, if you take the number one team off and you send them off to the other playoff, to me, I still don't think it's a bad idea. Because I think that team wins by just being in the other playoff, and I think you guys win by, taking the other, the next 12 teams and going, all right, we're going to just mirror this thing. And if you guys are going to play on Thursday, we're going to play on Wednesday. That's how this is going to be.
No, I don't think there's a downside to it aside from just kind of admitting what is already at play. And, that's a hard thing to do. But
how are you going to make yourself extra money without creating new things?
Yeah.
You're not going to.
Yeah. If you're the old drug and sundry, and you come in and be like, the Walgreens opens across the street, you're going to have to, up your game a little bit to at least keep your doors open. Right. Otherwise, Walgreens is going to run you out of business, you know. So I think that I've made Walgreens seem like a big evil
like they're Walmart or something.
They're just like CVS and Walgreens or moving into places have been like, oh, hey, Pop McGinty's
family drugstore, gone.
Yeah.
Let's board up those windows.
My family's been here since the 1920s. Tough crap, Pops. Capitalism. Wheels of progress always spin, buddy. So, I'm sure that's true for a lot of people. We're making a joke, and there's probably somebody watching the show's like, exact thing happened to me. By the way, I work for CVS now. It's the only place you can get a job as a pharmacist. Great. So, but yeah, I like, they've got to do something. They've got to do something different. They've got to do something that is creative and innovative and gets their marketing better, because the thing is that if you watch, like, good football is good football no matter who's playing the game. If the teams are evenly matched and the game is good, like, how many times, I can't even count how many times I've flipped on a game because it's on after the one that I was really interested in, and then it's like, oh, it's 27-24 in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left. Well, just see how this happens.
There's a much better chance you're going to get people to tune into this than like the Sun Belt Championship game or the Conference USA title game. Like, if you can sell it well and make it an event, then people will show up and watch it.
Yeah. Well, especially like if you have like, hey, by the way, these teams are good. I know they're not in the top 25 rankings because they've been walled off from that, but they're all really good. This team's 9-3 in their conference, and 2 of their losses were in the non-conference, to teams that are in this top 25 here. So maybe want to watch this championship game because 9-3, 8-4, most of the losses account from they played Michigan and Oregon, and this team played Florida and, Clemson, So to me, I think that'd be great. So anyway, when we come back, the Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy.
I like it.
Yeah. So the Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy. Today, Stephen, what is our wheel topic?
Coaches on the hot seat.
Coaches on the hot seat. Okay. All right. So I'm going to grade them on a scale of 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
About how hot their seat is.
How hot the seat is.
I have not seen them.
Nope.
This is totally improvised. This is just going to come out of thin air. Garrett, you can see the wheel.
I can see the wheel.
Is the wheel challenging for me today?
Yes.
Okay.
There are a few on there. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. I like to be challenged. I like to be put to the test. The Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy comes up next. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. The Wednesday Wheel of Whimsy.
It's a great name.
Yes.
Came up with it on the spot.
Yeah.
Such
I
an
called it the
improver.
Wednesday Wheel of Doom, and Jack said no. It's whimsical.
Let's get some positivity in here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so
We are talking about coaches on the hot seat.
you're whimsical if you're a sadist. So
I mean, buyouts can be whimsical. I would dream of somebody saying, hey, here's $10 million to go home.
look, I think like everybody, like Jimbo Fisher, I know his ego is hurt,
Oh, sure.
but you got $90 million
my
to
goodness.
do nothing.
I would do amazing at that. There are people in life that like, and some people in here might fall in this category. That's fine. But there are people in life that I encounter. They're like, man, I just always have to do something. You know, I always got to have my hands in something. I always have to, I can't just sit and do nothing. I'm like, oh, I could just sit and do nothing all the time. Now it would get boring eventually, but if I had the freedom of having money like that, I would
like
find stuff to
my
do.
nothing to something time. Garrett, would you be like this? Would tilt way in the nothing.
Yeah.
Like the something would be totally under my control, completely under my control. Almost all the rules made by me, where it's just like, all right, well, you know, I'm happy to do a podcast, but here's when it's going to be.
Sure, yeah.
And it's, again, I want all of you people to know that this is only to serve my boredom.
And you're gonna pay me this much for it,
Yeah.
or I won't do it.
Yeah. Or I'm going to be just traveling and, you know, we'll see. So, yeah, that's what I would do. So, we're going to spin the wheel. This is coaches on the hot seat. I'm going to rank them from 1 to 10. Okay.
Let's do it. Spin that wheel.
Sam Pitman.
Sam Pitman, 1 to 10. I would put him at a 9.6.
Ooh, okay.
He has done some interesting recruiting in the transfer portal this offseason, but here's like the good news and bad news for Sam Pitman is like, oh, look, Tyson Foods has a bunch of money they want to spend on basketball now. Jerry Jones might be involved. Like, oh, the money's coming out for athletics. Yeah, that's good news for Arkansas. But for Sam Pitman, it's not necessarily good news because if they decided to go all in on Calipari, what's to say they're not going to go all in on somebody else? Mm-hmm. You know, find a similar situation in the worlds of college football where a good coach, and Calipari's still a really good coach. Like, there's no doubt about that, who's clear has skills, but his kind of, he needs a restart and the other need a restart. There'll be plenty of those in college football. And we're like, why don't you come here? Or, you know, when it comes to, do you hire, like, you know, Rhett Lashley or Jeff Traylor? Like, you know you have the money to do it, and, like, they're both going. Like, I'll just tell you that any coach that you'd be moving up from the group of five or from another conference will be rolling into Arkansas going, I would like the Calipari package, please. That's what I want. So I think his is very, very close to 10.
I've gone through a lot of different phases of Sam Pitman. I remember when he was hired, I was like, this is dumb. Like, it seemed like on the surface, okay, nice dude, offensive line coach. This is his dream job, but he's not going to be able to do it. But then, like, they did okay for a little while. And then last season was so bad. Paul, it got to the point with him last year where I think it was the worst type of media conferences you could have between all the losing and the social media stuff, where the media there was basically like, the questions were essentially just, hey, buddy, are you doing okay? Like, what's going on in your life? Are you handling this all right? Are you mentally, are you good? The fact that everybody's talking about how you're going to get fired every week, and he handled that well. I do think he's a good dude and he cares about the kids, but I was surprised they rolled it back and said, hey, let's do this one more time.
Yeah.
It just seems like almost kicking the can down the road on the buyout to a certain extent.
And maybe that's what they're doing. But apparently, the chicken man can make some things happen. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're going to go.
Spin that wheel.
James Franklin.
Oh, 2.
Okay.
2. Like, here's the thing. It's going to be really hard to fire James Franklin. Let me pull up their schedule, and I'll tell you where the fans will lose their minds this year. Now, they do have to play West Virginia early again this year, and I think that game is a lot dicier than it was last year. And West Virginia
played them tough last year, too.
Yeah, played them tough and hadn't found their spirit yet, and eventually did, obviously. So, all right, they got to go to USC. They have Ohio State at home. They have Washington at home. And so if they don't – and Washington is a huge question mark because that whole roster is reset, top to bottom. But if they lose to USC and Ohio State, and say if they lose 3 games and go 9-3, which on this schedule, like they play UCLA, Wisconsin, like there's not a whole lot that I'm really scared of. I would say at Purdue, year 2 of that coaching staff, towards the end of the second year, if they catch momentum and Hudson Card is good in the offense, that would be something. But I mean, this looks like a 10-2 to me for them, and it might get them in the playoff. Here's the thing: if 10-2 gets him in the playoff, then he's probably fine.
Yep,
the problem is that third loss that will inevitably probably come in the playoff to someone like Georgia or Clemson or Miami or someone like. And I'm probably giving them a little bit too much credit. Like, they played Georgia. Well, see you later.
Yeah, I don't have a great feel for the temperature there. The only reason I included him was it does feel like he's one of those guys that you kind of have the age-old question of, all right, he can get us to this certain place, which is great. I mean, historically for Penn State, 8 to 10 wins is really solid. But can he win the big games? Can he pull off a few upsets? And at what point do you say – what's their ceiling with this guy? But he's obviously done a good job there. They're very consistent, and even with the consistent losses to Michigan, Ohio State through the years, they take care of their business elsewhere. But USC and Washington on the schedule is super interesting. That's a new wrinkle, obviously, for a lot of Big 12 teams, but now for Penn State as well. They got a couple more marquee games. They got to find ways to win those as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go spin the wheel again.
Spin that wheel!
Dave Aranda.
Also, I'm going to put him a little lower than Sam Pitman. The reason I say that, I'll put him at about an 8 right now.
Okay.
And I only put him at an 8 because the fan base is at a 9.9. And I might even need to move lower if I actually did the real math on this, but I went to Florida State before the academic requirements were so high. So the fans are like a 9.9 right now about Dave Aranda. If you read Sam Kahn's column in The Athletic this week, and if you listen to us and listen to Mac Rhodes, the athletic director is on about a 4.
Yep.
So the president's at the same, at about a 4 right now. So they feel confident in Dave Aranda. Now they can't go 3-9 again, And if they're better and if they're 6-6, you got to keep them because that's a 3-game improvement. If they're 7-5, then even better. I just don't I don't know if all the stuff that they've done is going to work, but I'll put him right now at an 8 and split the difference because the fans want one thing, but he still has the alignment of the president and the athletic director, which is way more important most of the time than what the fans want. because if they believe they can get through the wilderness on something, they're going to try to do that. Now, if they're 3-9 again, then like there's nothing that they can do. Like he's going to go off, and I think the biggest worry I think that the administration has with Dave Aranda, and I think it's well founded, is that he's going to figure it out at the next place. If you would judge Bill Belichick on the Browns, he would be the game's greatest defensive coordinator, right?
Yep.
Much like Dave Aranda might wind up being, if he goes for a couple of years, he'll be like the best defensive coordinator in college football again. So if they don't want that to happen, where the Cleveland Browns, and their circumstances were different, but there were teams that after he did so poorly with the Browns, they're like, no.
Right.
This guy, he seems like a genius, but he's not. And then, oh, well.
Maybe he is, yeah.
I would love to hear the jobs that he interviewed for between the Browns and the Patriots. I know he almost got the Jets job, but, I think he essentially took it and then changed his mind. But between those jobs that they're like, let's talk to Bill Belichick, and they're like, nah. Yeah, I don't know.
Don't see it, yeah.
Seems cantankerous and a bit of a football dork. I'm not going to do it. All right. Didn't work out in Cleveland in spite of terrible ownership, So, yeah, I think that's their fear.
They got a lot of belief in him, the athletic department, that is. I think Dave's a unique guy. It's rare for coaches to show a lot of humility publicly. This is the third kind of reinvention of himself since he took this job, and it's not like he's been here for 10 years. I mean, he reset after that first season. He fired Larry Fedora. He made some changes. He reset again after last season. He let go his mentor in Ron Roberts and brought in his own DC. Now he's calling plays. I think he's very, very self-reflective. I think he wants this to work. He was proactive in trying to keep this job. But, yeah, at a certain point, I mean, the results have to matter. And since that Big 12 title, they just haven't been there. But it does feel like they've made some moves in the portal and that they're trying to build this coaching staff to a place where they can kind of innovate themselves a little bit, which typically with coaches that works out well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that there's a lot of different things that you can do and to improve yourself. And he's done a lot. I have faith in it. Again, I think the fans want somebody more fiery, or they want all these different things, but. Just wait and see, and we'll see. He's so smart that, again, there's going to be that time. And I fully believe it. If Dave Aranda does not work out here, I think he's smart enough to figure out what he did wrong over the next few years, get another head coaching job or two, and then people are like, dang it, if he'd only figured it out then. 10 years from now, if Dave Aranda left, we could be talking about, man, that team he got just was unbelievable.
Coaching personalities never matter if people win. I mean, it's just one of those things when they were good, it was, he's so calm and collected, and that's the thing that makes the team click. Now it's flipped to the other side. That stuff is overrated. It's just about winning and losing. And if he wins, then that narrative will shift again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that things will change. I'm optimistic that this year will be better, but again, I'm also realistic that none of this stuff may work out. And at the core of their problems to me was two things. The scheme fit was not great, that they had an offensive last year. Defensive coordinator who he hired was not ready, and he needs to take over that role. All those things have changed. The one thing I don't know that's changed is how much better are the players that they have.
Yeah, and talent evaluation.
Talent evaluation, that's got to change, and that's been a problem since they won the Big 12 and won the Sugar Bowl. All right, here we go.
Spin that wheel.
Brett Bielema,
Illinois. Won.
Okay.
He's done well enough there. They have a really good defense. Illinois doesn't need to be going upsetting the apple cart. Now, I do think that you might see some teams that have a little bit of success in the Big Ten, have that good year where they go 9-3, or they're right on the cusp of the playoff, or whatever. Decide we can do something in football, and that to me is an Illinois of doubling down on it, and especially now that they have all these new resources that they're going to have, even more money. So I would say that, but I don't think Brett Bielema's in any kind of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a little bit of a setback, but that feels like a place where expectations are just different.
Yeah. The only thing I think he's got bad going for him right now is he looks like that dude from Beavis and Butthead. If you've seen the memes, you've seen the memes.
That's true. I didn't think about that, but that's not great.
No, he looks exactly like him. Have you seen it, Garrett?
I haven't, but I'm trying to. Is it the tool? Which one? Which guy is it?
That's them two boys.
Yeah, the tool shed guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy right there.
Just a dead ringer.
Yeah, he's a dead ringer. I'll look it up. I'll show you when we're done with the show. All right, let's get some more in.
Spin that wheel.
Clark Lee.
This one's interesting. I'm going to put him at a 6.
Okay.
He's been at Vanderbilt for a couple years.
They're making a commitment now.
They're making a commitment now, like all
NIL.
those things, all NIL and all those things. I just don't. Like, it's so hard for me to do the math on them really competing in the SEC.
Right.
Like, how long, like, Clark Lee, you know, because if they have a really bad year 1 year after they make the commitment, then they're going to hire somebody that they feel that is worth that money, right? So I like the fact that he believes that Vanderbilt can compete for national titles in football. They've competed for national titles in baseball and won national titles in baseball. Like, you can win, you know, if the assets are pointed in your direction the right way, I suppose. But it's just so hard for me to see them. Like, you're not talking about winning a conference like the Big 12 right now where there's no – like, if you sent Vanderbilt to the Big 12, I'm sure they'd love it. Like, as far as game in and game out, like, there's no preconceived – like, right now there's no preconceived notion about who's the go to the conference. Like, those days have changed. But in the SEC, I just don't you know, I don't see it. It's hard for me to see them getting past, like, they're at the very back of the pack right now.
Yeah.
So they've got to get past 15 other schools. You know, and even if it's not 15, it's still like 11, right, that they have to jump past. That's a long shot, and the more sunshine he pumps without results, then that inverse ratio is gonna keep going up for him.
Even with the investment, I think the thing that works for him is if you win 6 or 7 games there, that's at least temporarily, that's a good thing. So, yeah, we got time for 1 or 2 more.
We got time. We have 13 more minutes, so we can.
Let's spin that wheel.
We can maybe finish the whole wheel.
All right, let's wheel it up.
Shane Beamer.
Shane Beamer. I'll put him at a 6, maybe a 5. I'll put him at a 5. He's right in the middle. South Carolina he's shown some things and some excitement about that. But again, does he have the commitment from the alumni? South Carolina's never won that conference.
No.
Like, they're not. I was always under the impression that they were like a longtime SEC member, and I was so wrong about it.
Did they win the ACC in like '83 or something?
Yeah, I mean, like, whenever
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they have not won the SEC since they've been in it. Like,
No,
whenever
not at
they
all.
like their conference titles didn't come from the SEC.
Okay.
So this is something that would be very new to them. So I don't think, like, I'll put it at a 5 because, like, if things go awry for them, like, then you might move on again. But I think they like him, and I think that they've got to let him figure it out because, again, that might be kind of a similar Dave Aranda situation. Like, I think Shane Beamer's going to be good somewhere eventually. South Carolina might just not be that place, and you don't want to, have that situation where you're like, yeah, we sent Shane Beamer out the door right before it all started to work out for us. So,
Well, last year was kind of supposed to be the leap year, but, I mean, we want progress to be linear, and it really is. Sometimes you just take a step back before you can take a step forward again. It does feel like he's got great energy, good recruiter. The Spencer Rattler experiment didn't work out. That wasn't just a South Carolina thing, though. I mean, that's kind of.
I mean, he played well there, but
the ceiling was never what people thought it could be.
Yeah.
So overall, I think Shane's a good fit there, and I mean, there's not. Again, it's just another place with not a lot of historic wins.
Yeah. All right.
Spin that wheel, Paul.
Mario Cristobal.
Mario Cristobal. I'm going to put him at a 4. I think he's got some more time. I think Miami has they're directing a lot of things that haven't happened yet. Like, they're not done building the facility. God, I hope they get the stadium figured out. I don't think that's going to be something that they do. Like, there's like perfect places to build it that'll just never happen because of the political grift that exists in that part of the country, which is really bad. I mean, just really bad. But look, he has no excuses to not be very improved this year. He's done very well in the transfer portal. He's got veterans all over the offense, veterans all over the defense. People are coming in and playing in Miami. They've made clearly a huge NIL commitment. So to money people, he's out of excuses to show that he's the guy to do this long term. So this is the year that he needs to. I don't think he needs to win the ACC, but he needs to compete for it. Mm-hmm. Like, look, if you lose to FSU, fine. Like, it sucks if you're the rival, especially fine, for me. But like,
does he need to at least split FSU Clemson?
Yeah, let's see what.
Or do they play?
Let's see what their schedule is. I mean, it's so hard to like, you can't follow. I mean, we're on a new scheduling matrix for everybody.
Right.
So, look, they play at Florida to start the season. That's a game I think they're going to win. So like if you beat Florida, they play USF, Virginia Tech. That should be a little bit tougher at Cal. Louisville, FSU. Yeah, they don't play Clemson. So they play Louisville, Louisville, FSU, and Florida, to me, would be their three. Duke, if Duke can bounce back under a new coach. Like, those are their
circle the games.
Right, yeah.
On the schedule thing. So if they go 2-1 in those, especially if one of those two is Florida State, then I think they're fine. If they're 2-1 and it's Florida State and Florida, then like the Louisville game, people might be pissed about it, but who cares? Like you just beat Florida State and Florida the same year, and they don't get to play like that. Florida rivalry comes around like once every 8 years, when they agree to do it because Florida stopped playing them in the 80s regularly. So, I mean, it's not like super high, but I do think he's in a prove it year.
I mean, you just can't have
like a prove that you're like growing.
The guy, that you're growing this thing. I think the big thing is you can't have just the Georgia Tech loss was so stupid last year.
Yeah.
And like those moments have not been that's not the first time things like that have happened to teams like his. So you got to win the big games, and you can't drop. Maybe everybody has an inexplicable loss, but you can't drop games like that consistently.
Yeah. No, you can't. All right, here we go. 8 minutes left.
Spin that wheel, Paul.
Spin it again.
Spin that wheel again, Paul.
Steven, you want to say hi? You ever watch The Price is Right?
Oh, no, I guess I didn't get that reference.
Kalani Sitake.
Kalani Sitake. 4. Beloved there. I mean, they love him. And, like, they're in the new league and all that. Recruiting there is a little bit different. The transfer portal is a little bit different there. I might be biased here because I really love that guy.
How much pressure is on him with Utah in conference now, though?
Yeah, I think let's spin the wheel 365 days from now, and I'll answer that question maybe differently. Because now Utah's in conference. I mean, and they just really hate each other.
Yeah.
But he's also struggled to get quarterbacks the past couple of years. Like, you're going to rely on Gary Bohannon this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love that I'm hearing that from camp, that the big turnaround is hinging on Gary Bohannon being the guy. I will say, I talked to Jake Hatch from Locked On Cougars, which sounds like a podcast about Dana Holgerson, but it's actually about BYU. But I talked to him about their season, and he was like, yeah, I mean, make a bowl game, win 7 or 8 games. That would be a good step forward. So I guess they're still sort of in that phase of transitioning to the new league where it's like, all right, let's build this thing. But it just felt like to me BYU was in a better position to compete right away. And not to say they didn't compete last year, but they were 5-7. So
yeah. All right. So this time I'm going to see if you want to say hi. So like I'm going to spin the wheel.
Okay.
And then like when you spin the wheel, or you can ask me if I want to say hi because I'm the one who spun the wheel.
Okay.
Okay. So just ask me when I spin the wheel. I want to say hi.
Okay.
Okay. And I'll do it like they do on Price is Right.
All right. Here we go. Spin that wheel. Paul, do you want to say hi?
I do. I want to say hi to my wife, Amanda. I want to say hi to Garrett and Jack. I want to say hi to my mom, my grandma. Okay. What do we got?
Spin again. David Aranda keeps coming up.
Spin that wheel, Paul. You got any more shout-outs, Paul?
I'd like to say hi to my high school history teacher, my cat Pickles.
All right, I'm gonna go over one. Dabo Sweeney.
Okay, Dabo Sweeney. He's at a 3. Again, he's not yet to
He's getting into collars last year, Paul.
angry. Yeah, I know. That's what puts him at a 3. The transfer portal thing. Also, please go and watch my video on Dabo Sweeney on Dabo in the transfer portal that I put up this. We put it up on Saturday night. It's done quite well. So we shot it over here at the desk with the green screen. It was fun. We're going to do more of those. But Jack sent me this from Reddit College Football last night. There are 4 teams that have not added a undergraduate transfer in the portal era. Do you know who those 4 teams are? And yes, one of them is Clemson.
Man, no, I'd have a hard time even guessing.
Oh, it's easier than you think.
Georgia?
No. Georgia does it all the time. Army, Air Force, and Navy. And, Stephen, can you answer me this little trivia question? Can Army, Navy, and Air Force take transfers?
I'm going to say no.
They cannot because you need a congressional appointment to go to that school. So, and I'm sure other things. So, Dabo Sweeney has a transfer policy that is as stringent as the U.S. government. And that is getting him beat. He doesn't see it right now. He does not see it right now. And he's like, look, on the video we showed a clip of him. He's like, look, I'm not opposed to the transfer portal. If I were at a different school, I'd use it all the time. Okay. Well, buddy, everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
But you and the service academies. So, and I'm not telling you to take 40 transfers.
Right, but you could go get a few guys.
But when you lose, your third best wide receiver, your best cornerback, your best running back graduates, I know that you like the freshmen you have coming up, but, if you want to beat the teams that are going and getting these players, look, your old quarterback might come back and beat you this year. That's a possibility. So,
yeah, get in there.
Yeah, you got to get in there. I don't think Dabo's ever going to get fired, but I do think that he will grow to the point of annoyance. And he'll be like, you know what? Not doing it. And I'm just going to sit on my money, and I'm going to retire, and I'm going to go fishing, and I'm going to speak at churches with Tim Tebow. That's what he'll do.
Do you want me to give you the final 2, or you want to spin the wheel and try to get them?
Go ahead and just give me the final 2.
All right, so you got Billy Napier and Brian Kelly.
Billy Napier is at a solid 9. A solid 9. And the wide receivers taking visits there, and I get why you would. But, if, the other schools on your list have better quarterbacks than Graham Mertz.
I think they're looking for, Lagway in the future.
Go there. Yeah, but, if you only have 1 year of eligibility left.
That's different.
Then, you get to play with Lagway in practice.
Yeah, that's about it.
I mean, maybe he's that good. I don't know. We'll see where he can step in for Graham Mertz. The
Wisconsin legend.
Graham Mertz of Graham Mertz and Associates State Farm Insurance. Come to Mertz. We make sure where it don't hurts. or Graham Mertz Hurts rental cars.
Oh, that's good.
Come on by. Hertz, owned by Graham Mertz.
They need somebody since OJ gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Hertz. O.J. Simpson was never our sponsor. Don't get on YouTube. Hertz, that was his own car, not one of ours. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a 9. He's got to start. I mean, and everything's been a debacle around him, but they really have to start doing something. And the bad news for Billy Napier, and let me just take this opportunity to recite this schedule again. Tell me the surefire wins on the schedule, Stephen.
Okay.
The surefire, there's no doubt I'm picking Florida in this game wins. Miami.
No.
Samford.
Yeah.
Texas A&M.
No.
Mississippi State.
Yes.
Okay. UCF.
No.
Tennessee. On the road. Kentucky.
No.
Georgia.
No.
Texas.
No.
LSU.
No.
Ole Miss.
No.
Florida State.
No.
That's the last 6 games of their season. The last 8 games of their season start with UCF and go down. UCF is right now the only team in that list that doesn't have a preseason ranking. And I have a feeling with KJ Jefferson, they have a great shot.
They'll probably be ranked by then.
They'll probably be ranked by then. I really do. And like the running backs they have, they've done really well. Gus Malzahn, by the way, tomorrow on the show. So we'll have but yeah, there are and maybe you give them a mulligan because you're like, look, whatever demon you angered is taking this out on you. So, all right, let's do the last one.
Brian Kelly.
2.
What do you say, Garrett?
I say it's about a 4.
Okay.
Because look, dude, he's going to – the comments he made yesterday, I recommend everybody go and listen to him about how they're not going to buy players. I respect that. I actually gained some respect for him with that. But this isn't Oklahoma State. Like, you're not going to be content with 10 wins every year and keep your job for 30 years. Like, you come to win championships. So I think he's got about a 2-year window there to win a natty. And if not, he's probably going to be gone.
Yeah. So
I just feel like he's not likable, and that accelerates your clock.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe some LSU people are digging him.
If you're not likable and win, they'll love you in Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know who I'm talking about. I'm throwing out an example that has no tangible evidence of someone.
Yeah.
Maybe won a national championship recently.
I'm just it's a hypothetical in my mind. I just know that, people at schools, maybe even SEC schools, will compromise how you feel about someone because they're winning. It's happened a couple places.
Yeah.
It happened a place close to here. It happened in another place that is very similar to LSU, if not exactly LSU. So I'm not giving a specific point of reference.
Right.
Just saying that it's Kim Mulkey.
You can even wear pantsuits by Liberace if you win.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what she looks like.
Man.
And it's not even like Liberace. It's like Fred Armisen doing Liberace on SNL. That's what she looks like.
Is that a real bird on that jacket?
Oh, my gosh, yes. Oh, dear God. All right, today on the show, Colton Thomason, new Baylor commit on the offensive line. He comes in from Texas A&M. Also, we've got Chris Dishman, a fantastic NFL player and the head coach at Texas Southern. Cole Kubelik will talk a little SEC and college football with us. Steve Henson, the top 5. And then, of course, Colton Thomason, who I think we're probably going to slot in now at 4:30. It looks like that's going to fit in quite nicely there. Stephen Simcox, always love it. Good luck on your week of research to get another 12 topics for the wheel.
Thanks, Paul.
So
that's all I'm going to do.
Listen.
Next 7 days.
Yeah. Daddy, can we play catch? Not today.
You got any wheel ideas, Bradley?
No.
Go watch Around the Horn and tell me what they're doing.
Yeah, look, you make yourself useful in this house, or I'll send you off to military school. What?
You don't need congressional appointments for that.
Yeah. One less mouth to feed in here, that's for sure. No, absolutely. All right, when we come back, I see come back in an hour. When you see us in an hour, jocularity in sports on 365 Sports. Have a great day, everybody.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's